presented by AARP. I have a story, and my story is important to me. My story is a story that will change the lives of so many people. Just like me, you have a story. And today, our guests in the studio are just going to come in and give you a glimpse of their story. What is your story like? Is it one that you don't want to talk about? Is it one that you've gone through that's changed the life of your family? Is it a story that you have been holding in for so long and you're waiting for the opportunity to share it? Our hope today is that by these amazing guests coming and sharing their stories, that it will push you to know that you can share yours. Because that's the one thing that people can't take away from us. It's our story, our meaning, our purpose. Why? Because our stories matter. Your story matters. My story matters. So ladies, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am excited that you all are here with me. We're just going to have a conversation.
Great.
The goal is that we want this to be a safe place for people to feel like they can come and get information, and that we're going to be real. That these are conversations that girlfriends can have with each other in a safe place. So I want to say that I am so excited to have my sisters here. My first sister I want to introduce is Crystal King, who is the 2018 Salute Her Award winner for the Corporate Trailblazer. Because this sister is blazing a trail. She is the creative vice president at the American Heart Association. And then we have Ricky Fairley, who is the 2014 Salute Her Game Changer Award honoree. And Ricky, I have to share this with you. Sheila said that you have been there from the beginning.
I have been here from the beginning. I watched Sheila birth this amazing platform. And back in the day, I mean, it's evolved to this amazing thing now. You know, it was like, I think when my award, we had a little venue in Atlanta and maybe 100 people, and now it's like the world. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And Ricky is a marketing genius, a marketing genius, founder of Dove Marketing, founder. And that is legacy in and of itself. Well, ladies, we're going to jump right in and have some candid conversations. I know that stories are important. And I felt that it would be so befitting for us, with breast cancer awareness coming up, for us to have a conversation that I hope will bless some women and change their lives. Women who have not been diagnosed, women who are newly diagnosed, and women who may have had breast cancer for the first, second, or third time. So Ricky, I want to start with you. If you could share your journey, because I know it's going to help some people. Mm-hmm. If you could just share your journey with us and share with us tidbits on how women can get to the other side.
Sure. So I had stage 3A triple negative breast cancer, which we know affects Black women at twice the rate.
Yes.
Black women under 40 at 3 to 4 times the rate. And it's the only breast cancer subtype that doesn't have a drug to prevent recurrence. It's very aggressive, and it usually comes back with a vengeance. I did a double mastectomy by choice. I did 6 rounds of chemo, 6 weeks of radiation. A year to the day of my first diagnosis, they found 5 spots on my chest wall. And I went back on chemo, did more chemo, had another surgery. And when they went in to do the surgery, and at that point, my doctor said, get your affairs in order. You have 2 years to live. I went back and did more surgery. The cancer was gone. It'll be 9 years in 3 days. So God had another plan for me. And I know that he left me here to do this work in advocacy. And that's what I do. I fight like a girl every day. But I did a lot of crazy things when I was sick. When I was on chemo, I divorced my husband of 30 years. I quit my business partners I was in business with for 10 years, and I sold my big house in the suburbs and I moved to the beach.
Wow.
And everyone kept saying, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure don't have chemo brain?" But I knew in my spirit that I had to heal my body. And I had always been the breadwinner, the rainmaker, the person taking care of everybody. And I had to stop the music. And I realized that I had to get all of the cancers out of my life, not just the one in my body.
Yes, yes.
And that's what I focused on. And I did some crazy things.
Ricky, the information that you have shared with us, even in just this opening conversation that we're having, it has helped so many people because the facts and statistics are so needed. It's a wake up call, just what you just said, because if you don't know, you don't know. But once that awareness is brought to us, it is game changer. And
Yeah.
speaking of game changers, Miss Crystal King is truly a game changer. And I want to just ask you if you could share your story, some of your journey. I have walked with you. It has been my joy to be there for you, to just love on you unapologetically. And I think we as women, Ricky and Crystal, that's what we have to do. We have
Yeah,
to love on one another
we do.
unapologetically. Crystal, I want you to share your story with the millions of people who will listen to this interview.
So my story is it's really funny because there's an
Yes.
intersection
I
that
didn't
we'll
even
get to
get there,
between my
but we
Yeah.
have one.
yeah, there's an intersection between my story and Ricky's story. So I'll go back to the beginning a little bit and just say that breast cancer was an amazing wake up call for me, but the call didn't originally come to me. The call originally came to my mother, who was diagnosed just 3 short years before I was. My mom was age 50 when she was diagnosed, and I was blindsided at age 25 when I was diagnosed. And here I sit at age 42 now, having had several additional scares and battles throughout the years, as you just mentioned, Cheryl. And so the wake up call, the loud siren for me came time and time again. And it's funny because I got a call from another friend whose world had been rocked. And when she called me, I'll never forget where I was standing. And that call was from Ricky. And I love her so much. And I'm so honored to have an opportunity
I love you so much.
with her today. I love her. And
Love you, Dad.
I learned so much from her, even though her diagnosis came after mine. I learned so much from her bravery, from her courage. Everything that you just heard from her is so real and so true. And that's my story. And then, Cheryl, you and I buried another close friend today. Granted, not from cancer, but the idea here is we're losing so often, and we're women that are built and designed to win. So
Yes.
we need to do different.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like by us having these conversations, it's the opportunity for us to change things. It's the opportunity for us to bring awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, ladies, how has sharing your stories, how do you think has changed the lives of other people? And do you think sharing our stories can change the life of other people?
Go ahead, Ricky.
Go ahead, babe. Go ahead.
Yes, and yes. Stories have the power to heal.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything more powerful than stories, because stories deliver hope. Stories deliver peace. Stories deliver the sense that I am not alone, that other women have walked in my shoes. For me, I think about, early on, my husband had a friend. Mind you, we were engaged when I was diagnosed, and I was, planning a wedding during this diagnosis. And I remember one guy who's no longer his friend saying, "You're not married yet." She's having a mastectomy, do you really want to? It was just young, right? We were all in our 20s, and I remember being so devastated, but then reading the story of another young lady who had been through something similar, and it gave me the ability to tap into what was still beautiful about me. And I began to tell women, listen, you know what, I can be above ground with the implants and,
Right.
and the ball head, or I can lay in a casket trying to be cute. And someone's story gave me that power. So when we talk about what it means to tell our stories, it's life changing. It is life changing.
It is. It is. I would totally agree with that. And I just want to step back for a minute on what my precious Crystal articulated. The infrastructure for breast cancer does not work for Black women. I mean, because the statistics say that Black women under the age of 35 get breast cancer at twice the rate as white women and die at 3 times the rate. So the stories you're hearing from her are the numbers, and so we've got to do something differently. And then if you move ahead to talking about the stories are so important. And I get calls every day. Not a day goes by where I don't hear from a new breastie, a new diagnosis, my daughter, my mother, me, whatever. And the doctor said XYZ. But what do you think, Ricky?
Right.
They get the information, they get the science, but then what do? They call a breastie. They call somebody who's been through it to validate what the doctor said, or just to make them feel good about it, to give them a hug. Yeah, that's what you should do, or this is what I did and this is what happened to me. And so just having that conversation with someone who's been through it is a different experience.
Yes.
And even for me, I had triple negative, and I remember going to my first support group and no one had triple negative. And so everything they said was irrelevant to me. I needed to talk to somebody who had walked in my shoes and done what I did and done the therapy that I did to really understand it and embrace it and feel good about it. So, it's a club that you don't want to be in, but once you're in it, it is unconditional love. And we have a sisterhood and a love for each other that is impenetrable and so important. And we really rely on each other to talk about what's next. I mean, also the other funky statistic is that the recurrence rate for Black women is 39%. And that pressure, that fear is always out there looming.
Yes.
Am I going to get it again? And so we have to stay connected and so close to our sisters because of that fear in itself, and just sort of going through the trauma. And interesting, I know that God laid out a plan for me before I got breast cancer, and Crystal was in that plan. And actually, we met working on a breast cancer project. We went to the Bahamas. Remember, Crystal, we did the first race for the cure in the Bahamas. I had never heard of triple negative until that trip. I had never, there's so many things I learned 8 months before I got breast cancer. How crazy is that? But I know that God put Crystal in my life and that experience to help prepare me for what I was about to go through. And so I think if we all look back and think about our experiences, there were people or other women in our path before and after that helped us get through this. Crystal had her mom, that had been through it. So I think we all, that sisterhood is so critical to be able to deal. It's so needed and so special that and I'll add one more thing. So at the beginning of COVID, I was getting so many calls from breasties saying, "Oh my God, should I go to chemo? Should I go to the hospital? Am I going to take a risk? Am I going to get the virus?" And I started thinking about it. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about it. So I did like a Facebook Live event with one of my doc friends, Monique Gary, and we had like 800 views on my Facebook page about just talking about breast cancer and COVID. So we started a show, and we now air every Wednesday night and called The Doctor Is In, and we now just talk about everything breast cancer, and we have like 30,000 viewers in just like 3 months.
And that's right there. Go ahead, Crystal.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that's the power of Ricky, right?
Not really. No, it's the power of breast cancer sisters. Breast cancer.
No, it is. But it's the power of her strength. And I often tell people that when you've been through this battle, it does something to you that makes you different. There are special women all over the world. And this is not to say that some are more special than others, but to me, what I have seen, the power and the strength that comes out of a woman who has been through this battle, there is something very unique, something very strong, and something very special. And Ricky is living proof of that. And I just honor her today. And I'm grateful, and I just love her, and I'm doing everything I can not to just break into tears as I hear her tell her story.
I love you so much. I love you so much. But you know what? We do become badasses. Okay.
Yeah.
We really do.
You
And
have to.
and I think you lose your filter. When someone told you you're going to die, you like, okay, whatever. Like nothing is rains on our parade, right?
I'm gonna let it rip. My yes is my yes, and my no is my no, and I'm living unapologetically. And either I'm getting rid of all the attachments and only
Right.
on the assignments. And that's why when we talk about these stories, just us sharing just this time together right now, it's been so powerful. I feel a stirring even in our conversations. Ricky, as you talked about the 30,000 people that are now tuning in. See, that's what it is. We
Yeah.
allow ourselves, when we don't share our stories, we allow ourselves to be held hostage in our mind.
Yes.
Right,
When we
right.
share our
Yeah.
stories, it gives other people a permission that they don't even realize
Yes.
that they don't need. They don't need our permission to share their stories. But because we're having these conversations, it has opened up the door for women to say, I felt like that, but I
Right.
didn't know there was anybody else out there. And Ricky, I love when you said you started this journey. You didn't even know you would be on this journey, but you were already aligned with Crystal. So it goes to show that everything we need will be provided for us.
Yes.
But it happened because Crystal shared her story. Had she
Right.
shared her story, you would not have known when you got diagnosed 8 months later that you already had a sister in arms to go through battle with you.
Right.
And
Right.
that's incredible.
Right.
And ladies, I am just moved because I realize when we have these stories, I'm just wondering, what do you want your legacy to be? And the reason that I'm asking that is because, Ricky, I heard you say several times, this has got to stop. This has got to change. I have already established a foundation. So I just want you both to share, what do you want your legacy to be? When people say Ricky Fairley, Crystal King, what do you want that legacy to look like? Because I can see it. I feel it in my spirit.
I'll yield to my younger sister. I love you, Crystal. Go
Um,
first. You go
Ricky,
first.
I love you, Ricky. I really want my legacy to be one that my entire life was all about saving lives. When people look back, I want them to say she was all about life saving. No matter what part of the journey I was in, it was all about saving lives. And to make things better, I recognize that I have a son who is at higher risk. I recognize what that means, and I want to make my mom proud. I want to make my dad proud. I want to make my husband. I want everybody to know that I was a fighter and that I didn't keep a story to myself that I didn't have a right to keep to myself. God didn't let me go on this journey so I could keep this to myself. I don't even have that right. So my legacy is all about saving the lives of others.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say, similar. I want to eradicate Black breast cancer. I want it to go away. And I kind of call it mortality rate parity. I wish I could cure breast cancer in my lifetime. That may not be feasible, but Black women shouldn't die at a 42% higher rate. We should all die at the same rate. And I don't want anybody to die of breast cancer, but it shouldn't be that crazy, that difference, right? And I don't want my grandbabies to have to speak these words. And so if I have to, I will go down fighting every day until my last breath, fighting, trying to save lives and trying to help people deal with this horrible disease. I think it's really, really important that we focus on the science. And I actually spoke at Merck on Black History Month, and they said, well, what should we do? I said, well, 20 years ago, the AIDS community came after pharma with a vengeance. And they said, we're dying. Help us. And some wealthy people came to the table and went to Congress or whatever. And guess what? You don't die of AIDS anymore. Magic Johnson's still alive and
Yeah.
thriving, and many people are undetectable. So they tackled it. So why can't you do that for Black breast cancer? And so I just got off the phone before we had this call with a pharma company that I talk to, very regularly, and I talk to all of them that make breast cancer medications. Like, bring me the science, make it happen for us. You guys are really smart. I serve on a lot of committees about this, but get the science working. And so I hope that that it says that I at least brought some science to this challenge towards either getting rid of it or a major mark to get there.
She's you for a reason. I love her.
I love you to death, honey. I love you so much.
An amazing, eye-opening conversation in so many different ways. And when we spoke about legacy, and I said, what do you want your legacy to be? I have to tell you that you are already living legacies. You're already doing the work. So as I was sitting here listening, I'm like, what do I want it to be? These ladies are already building legacies. And not only through breast cancer awareness and sharing your stories, ladies, you are phenomenal in your field.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal in the
we have to. We have no choice. We have no choice.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering, with this tremendous legacies that you're building and these phenomenal women in corporate America, I have a question for you. At the end of the day, what does success look like to you? What does that mean when somebody says, oh, Ricky, Crystal, you're so successful? What wells up inside you when you hear that? What does that word mean to you?
Not to be the only one.
Ooh, I love that.
That's the first thing that comes to mind for me, is not to be the only one. So when you look around the room, when you look across the table, when you look down the table, if you're the only one and you didn't fight for another woman to be there, if you didn't fight for your sisters to be there, then you haven't done your job.
Right.
So for me, success looks like not being the only one.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's almost like, if there isn't a seat at the table, make your own table.
Make your own table.
Bring your own chair, bring your own table, and bring your own party together to make something happen. But I think, we had to learn too that no one fights this fight alone. We all are in this together. We have to figure out how to embrace each other and wrap our arms around each other, not only within the breast cancer community, but in corporate America, and as Crystal said, make those, make waves and make things happen to bring people to the table.
Absolutely. 3 things that you said lead me to my final question and conversation. You said bring people together, not leaving anybody behind, and making sure that everybody understands what's going on. How can we play a part? So my question is, how can we, and are you going to help to bring people to the polls? We are in a critical voting time right now. So I want to know what you plan to do to help bring people, and especially us over 50, to bring us to the polls, because our votes matter, our voice matters. And ARP wants us to make sure that we are getting people out to the polls. So sisters, what are we going to commit to make sure that we have our voices heard and that each of you are getting people out to the polls to vote?
Looking for every opportunity. Every opportunity that I can to help, whether it's leveraging my social media platform, whether it is, I signed up for the NAACP. They're enlisting folks to get on the phone and call people to make sure they're going to vote. I'm doing that. I'd say the third thing that I'm also doing is through our links chapter with some of my other sisters on our 40s and under 40 group. We are working on voter registration assets, right? Digital assets that can be shared. Just yesterday, we were working on some cool quotes that we can use on social, things that will, be that nudge, be that trigger to really make people want to get out and do their part and go vote. It's funny because one of the quotes that I wrote was, do your part, go vote. Sign those on the other side of the grave that gave their lives, right? We don't have a right not to go vote. And so I'm using my voice in every way possible.
Yeah. I have a political family. So, my daughter and my son-in-law, worked in the Obama White House for 8 years. And so now Amanda runs Supermajority. Go to supermajority.com and register. It's all about women and women's rights. And Kyle runs Michelle Obama's platform, When We All Vote. So I am all in it because my family is all over me. I get an email every hour, like, can you do this, whatever. I also co-chair the Maryland Women for Biden committee in my county. And on Tuesday nights, we try to make 100 phone calls. And I have 40 women in my neighborhood that we're all on the phone calling. We're calling all the swing states. And if I have to go, I will go and drive people to the polls, whatever it takes. Because I'm telling people, vote for your health because your life depends on it. It really does. I did a program on voting for your health, and I had representatives from Supermajority and When We All Vote and Black Girls Vote, and I will talk it up again on another show before the election. But we have to take any means possible because our opposition is doing the same thing. So let's all get people out. I talk about it. I take down signs in my neighborhood, like whatever it takes. I'm probably going to get caught someday at some point.
Only Ricky.
But we have to, and this election is no joke. This madness has to stop. And I pay an incredible amount of money for my health insurance for my Obamacare, and I can't afford to lose it. And none of us can. And we have to protect ourselves and protect our babies, protect our children. And in everything I do, I try to take a kid with me or talk to a kid wherever you are, like talk about voting and getting, the whole, our youth involved. So as much as possible.
And letting people know, people are counting on you not to leverage that right to vote.
Right.
They are counting on that. So, who are we now to shrink in the face of what someone else does or doesn't want us to do? That's never been who we are as a kid.
No. My mom is 87, and she actually does a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays for her church and her senior community on how to vote, on how to register. Like, she's got this whole, she goes on Zoom with her little PowerPoint presentation, and she'll come in like, how do I share the screen? But she's giving a class to elderly people on how to get their ballots and how to get their voting in.
Absolutely.
So my family's in it.
Our voice and our vote matters.
Right. Our health matters.
It all matters.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed our conversation today. We talked about owning our stories. We talked about our legacy. We spoke about what does success mean. And we ended it with making sure that we make a commitment to ourselves and each other that we're going to get people out to vote.
Yes.
I thank you for your openness. I thank you for your candor. I thank you because I know that the words that you've shared today, they're going to be words that save another woman's life. They're going to be words that will allow a woman to recognize that her story and her voice matters. Her diagnosis matters. And that we are going to have a world where we stop dying from breast cancer. Because we have the Ricky Fairleys in the world, and Crystal Kings in the world, and the Sheila Eldridges in the world that and provides these platforms for us to speak openly and candidly and have wonderful, soulful conversations that are real, that people can embrace. So I thank you for being a part of the Salute Her Soul Sessions, Conversations with Cheryl Pelote Williamson, presented by AARP.
Thank you. Thank you. Breasty love, my sister.
Cheryl. Thank you.
I appreciate